Hello, so here is our next pre-teach. It's all about decimal numbers, okay? We've been looking at place value over the last 2 weeks in class, and place value also includes decimal numbers. So let's have a look back at our place value chart, and you can see here we've got hundreds, tens, ones, tenths, hundreds, thousands, okay? And like we've been saying in class, each place value, as it goes up, is getting 10 times bigger. Tens is 10 times bigger than ones. Hundreds is 10 times bigger than tens. So if I've got 10 ones, it means I've got 1 10 because it's 10 times more. If I've got 10 tens, it means I've got 100. Each place value gets 10 times bigger as you move up. And of course the opposite way, each place value is getting 10 times smaller as you move down. So 100 divided by 10 will give me 10, okay? 10 divided by 10 will give me 1, okay? And so on and so forth. Let me just show you that before we move into the decimal numbers. Let me just show you that as a diagram, okay? So let's say I have let's start with hundreds. I've got 100, okay? And I want to divide my 100, no tens, no ones, 100. I want to divide my 100 by 10, okay? So let's show that using a bar. My bar is representing 100, and I want to divide it by 10. That means I'm dividing it into 10 equal parts, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's my 10 equal parts. So 100 divided by 10. And when I'm dividing by 10, I'm moving down to my next place value. So I should know that 100 divided by 10 will give me 110. Okay, so each of these equal parts is going to be worth 10. If I count them up, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. 100 divided by 10 gives me 10, okay? Which is why my place value will move down 1. The 100, after I've divided it by 10, will become 10, okay? And you can see the 100 has now moved to the 110 column, okay? It's now 10. And that happens if I look at every single column dividing by 10. So let's say I've got 10. And I'm dividing my 10 by 10, okay? I know it's going to equal 1 because 1 is my next place value down and it's 10 times smaller than 10. Okay, let's show you that with the bar. There's my bar. I'm dividing it by 10, which means I'm dividing it into 10 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My whole bar represents 10. I've divided it by 10 into 10 equal parts, and each part is going to equal 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So my 10 ones, as we know, my 10 ones make 110. 110 divided into 10 equal parts, each part's going to be 1. Okay? So you can see here that my 110 is now 1 whenever I've divided by 10. Okay? So hopefully, so far, all of that's making sense. But the same thing applies as we go down into decimal numbers. We just got to keep going with the same system. Okay? So if I have got, I'm just going to change these sheets over so we can start afresh again. If I've got 1, just 1, 1, and I divide my 1 by 10, then I'm going to need to look at my next place value to see what that's going to be. And of course my next place value is the tenths column. And each place value, remember, is 10 times smaller. So if I have 1, 1, and I divide it by 10, I should get 1/10. So if I look at it in my bar, if I have my bar, and my bar this time is representing 1, I'm going to divide my 1 bar by 10, which means dividing it into 10 equal parts. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And each part is now going to be worth 1/10. Of course, we can write 1/10 as a fraction or as a decimal. I'm going to write it in as a fraction for now. Each of my equal parts is going to equal 1/10. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10/10, and I know that when I have 10 of something, it's going to make one of the next place value up, so 10/10 is the same as 1, 1, okay? And to show that on your place value chart, I've divided my 1 by 10, which I know is going to be 1/10, okay? 0.1, so I've now got no ones. I've got 1/10, 1 goes into my tenths column, and of course, as we know, decimal point is always on the right side of my 1. So it's going to look like that, 0.1, with my 1 in my 10th column and no ones, because I've divided my 1 into 10 equal parts. Okay? So we're going to keep going. We've got 1/10 now, but what if I divide my 1/10 by 10? Well, of course, you're going to know that it's going to be the next place value along. So 1/10 divided by 10, 10 times smaller, is going to make 1/100th, because 100 is 10 times smaller than 1/10. Let's have a look at that. So this time I've got 0.1, and I'm going to divide it by 10, which means it's getting 10 times smaller, and we know it's going to equal 100th. Let's have a look at it on our bar to make sure. Got my bar. This time my bar represents 1/10. The whole bar is 1/10. I'm dividing it by 10, which means I'm dividing it into 10 equal sections. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's my 1/10 divided into 10 equal sections, divided by 10. Each section is now going to be worth 1/100th. They're going to write it as a fraction again. 1/100th. When you're practicing this, it's important you write everything into your bar because it helps you remember and it's good practice. So, and count it up at the end, just like I'm going to do now. 100th, 200ths, 300ths, 400ths, 500ths, 600ths, 700ths, 800ths, 900ths, 1000ths. And I know that when I have 10 hundredths, because I've got 10 lots of them, it's going to make one of my next place value up. So 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10, because tenths is 10 times bigger than hundredths, okay? Let's have a look at how that's going to look on my place value chart, okay? I've got one, each of these represents 100th. 1/10 divided by 10 is 100th. So my 1 is going in my hundredths column, okay, all the way down here. I'm trying to keep it in the same line so you can see. I have no tenths because I've divided my 1/10 by 10. My decimal point always stays on the right side of my ones, and I've got no ones. So 100th looks like this, 0.01. It's 100th, which is why my 1 is in my hundredths column. Now I could put zeros in all the other columns, but I don't have to, okay? But you could, you would still have the same answer, but you don't have to do that. We don't do that. 100th, okay? Right, I'm going to show you one more, going from hundredths to thousands, just to make sure we can understand it. So I'm going to take down these and put up some new bits of paper. And remember, keep reminding yourself that as we move up the place value chart, each place value is getting 10 times bigger. And as we move down our place value chart, each place value is getting 10 times smaller, okay? That's really important that you understand that. It's a really important concept. So I'm going to put up some new sheets so we can quickly have a look at the last one for today. So, where did we get to? We got to 100th. So I'm going to write 100th up again, which is 1 in the hundredths column. No tenths. Decimal point stays on the right side of 1, and I've got no ones. 100th. Okay? So if I've got 100th, and I divide it by 10, in other words, make 100th 10 times smaller, I know the next place value along is 10 times smaller, okay, dividing by 10. And that's thousandths. So, 0.01, which is 100th, divided by 10 is going to equal 0.001, or 0.001. Let's look at that with the bar. So I've got my bar. And my bar this time represents 100th, okay? It could be a fraction, but just two ways of writing 100th. 100th or 0.01, because we've seen that that's how you write 100th as a decimal, okay? Both are exactly the same. I've got my 100th, and I'm going to divide it by 10, which means I need to divide the bar into 10 equal sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So my 100th has been divided by 10 into 10 equal sections. Each section this time is going to be 1,000th. And I've just noticed something on my place value chart, which is really important, okay? 1,000, this is 1/10th as a fraction, this is 100th as a fraction, and 1,000th as a fraction. It needs another zero, doesn't it? 1 over 1,000. Well done to anybody that spotted that before me. Okay, you can give yourself 3 house points if you spotted that. Well done. So this is what 1,000th looks like as a fraction. So I've divided my 100th into 10 sections, and each section is worth 1,000th. Let's write all those in. Make sure I put the correct number of zeros. It's 1 over 1,000. I'm going to